In the headlines, ECOWAS delegation briefs President Tinubu on Niger crisis as AU announces suspension. Protests in Shandam community of Plateau State as police arrive with bulldozer for planned demolition of houses. Remains of pilots of crashed NAF Mi-171 helicopter in Niger laid to rest. And on the international scene, Ethiopia to launch joint Saudi probe into alleged migrant killings by border guards. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Updates. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thank you for joining us, and now the details. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu meets some of the critical stakeholders on the ECOWAS intervention in the crisis in Niger Republic. The delegation, headed by Nigerian former head of state, General Abubakar Abdulsalam, retired, was at the presidential villa to brief the president on the present demand of the Niger coup junta. President Tinubu is chairman of the Authority of the Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. The Niger's coup leader had proposed a 3-year transition of power after meeting a delegation of West African leaders and warned that any attack on the country would not be a walk in the park for those involved. Speaking to State House reporters after the meeting, General Abdulsalam, retired, said the meeting with the president formed part of efforts to see a way of settling the political crisis after the military overthrew the democratically elected president.
I must say that our visit to Niger has been very fruitful, in that it has opened an avenue to start talking, and hopefully we will get somewhere.
Congratulations, sir.
Well, like I said, we started talking. We made their own points, and then I made my report to the chairman of the ECOWAS Heads of State and President. He will now consult with his colleagues, and then the ding-dong starts, and we'll get somewhere, hopefully. Hopefully, diplomacy will see the better of this thing. Nobody wants to go to war. It doesn't pay anybody. But then again, you know, our leaders have said, if all fails, and I don't think all will fail, we'll get somewhere. We'll get out of this mess.
The African Union on Tuesday suspended membership of Niger Republic until civilian rule in the country is restored and will assess the implications of any armed intervention in the troubled Sahel nation. AU said the Peace and Security Council requests the AU Commission to undertake an assessment of the economic, social and security implications of deploying a standby force in Niger and report back to Council following strong differences on the matter. The AU last week held a meeting on the crisis against a backdrop of divergent views within the bloc over any military intervention. The coup has heightened international worries over the Sahel, with activities of insurgents linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group. Niger is the fourth nation in West Africa since 2020 to suffer a coup following Burkina Faso, Guinea and Mali. Meanwhile, the former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, has cautioned the economic community of West African states against military intervention in the Niger Republic. The ECOWAS defense chiefs had on Thursday pledged readiness to participate in a standby force that would restore democracy in Niger after the generals toppled and detained President Mohamed Bazoum. Also, in a statement via X, formerly known as Twitter, El-Rufai said, as ECOWAS beats the drums of war, I recall the 1970s rock classic by Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms, because a war within our sub-region is a war between brothers. Indeed, the people of Niger Republic are one and the same with those living in northern Nigeria. Niger's presidential guard, led by Abdurrahmani Tichani, toppled President Mohamed Bazoum on July 26, prompted ECOWAS to give the junta a 7-day ultimatum to reinstate the president or face sanctions, including military action. The Minister of Defense, Muhammad Badaru Abubakar, and the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Muhammad Matawalle, have promised remarkable changes in Nigeria's security architecture within 1 year. The new minister stated this on Tuesday while addressing journalists on the occasion of the assumption of office at the Ship House, Ministry of Defense, Abuja, barely 24 hours after being sworn in as cabinet members. Badaru assured the public that for the sake of the country, he and the Minister of State could not afford to betray the trust given to them by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. According to him, within a year, there will be remarkable changes for the better in the country's security situation. He also promised that he and Matawalle would do their best to meet the mandate of Tinubu, who, along with all Nigerians, are desperate to see that the nation's security is ensured. Matawalle gave an assurance that the ministry would spare no efforts in building a strong defense apparatus capable of handling any threats. Tensions is brewing in Tudunwada community of Shandam local government area of Plateau State on Tuesday morning when a bulldozer arrived for planned demolition of houses in the area. Now, a team of police officers and mobile policemen also arrived with the Hilux or to the community in Hilux buses. Ado Musa completes the report.
Tear gas was used by the police officers to disperse the angry protesters. Men, women and children were seen protesting when they saw the police officers and the bulldozer in the community. The community decried seizure of their land and houses, a situation that led the Inspector General of Police to order the State Commissioner of Police to investigate the matter. The community accused the former Commissioner for Land and Survey, Festus Fonter, of championing the exercise, an allegation that the former commissioner said was a case between Fonter family and 3 others, which he claimed that a court in the state had granted them the ownership of the land. But the community denied this claim. We were at home this morning when we saw police officers arrive the community in their numbers. Some minutes after, an excavator was brought and uploaded from a trailer. The situation was shocking. This land belongs to my father. He owns the land for the past 60 years. We built our houses for many years. Nobody claimed the land until now. We are not going anywhere. We were taken unaware today in our community. I was in the market when news came to me that police had come to demolish our houses. I have to rush to the house to see what was happening. When I arrived at the community, I saw women and children crying. The entire community was thrown into confusion. This is not the first time they are coming. The spokesperson of the State Police Command, DSP Alabo Alfred, is yet to comment on the development. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
These troops on the Operation Hakorinda Misa 4 have arrested 39 criminal suspects in connection with banditry, kidnapping and armed robbery. The troops also recovered arms, ammunition and had drugs. Now, according to the Media and Information Officer of the operation, Captain Oya James, in a statement on Tuesday, said the suspects were arrested at different locations within the joint operation area of Operation Safe Haven and 3 Division of Nigerian Army Area of Responsibility. Captain James further explained that the troops recovered an AK-47 rifle, 1 pump-action magnum gun, an AK-47 magazine, 14 rounds of 7.62 mm special, and an ITEL mobile phone from the suspects. A suspected kidnapper and arms dealer was also captured at Kuba village in Bokos local government area of Plateau State. The statement said that the troops arrested 2 militia gang members identified to be among those who attacked Hepang General area recently and recovered 2 AK-47 rifles, 7 fabricated rifles, and 4 pump-action cartridges during the operations. A drug syndicate operating in Bassa local government area was also nabbed during a sting operations, and 7 drug peddlers arrested with a large cache of drugs. Now, Captain James said the security troops arrested a total of 307 cows for grazing on farmlands belonging to locals at Kuba Community and Mabel Village of Mangu Local Government Area and Bokos Local Government Area, respectively. The media officer, however, said OPSH remained committed to bringing lasting peace in the state and ensure lives and properties are protected. Now, planned by Niger State Governor Umaru Bago to dialogue with bandits with a view of ending attacks on farming communities in the state is generating mixed reactions amongst residents. The negotiation, according to the plan, will allow farmers engage in farming activities to stem the tide of rising cost of foodstuffs. Abubakar Akote reports.
We are challenged with insecurity because we have a lot of ungoverned spaces. It is our kind and humble thinking that we will start to discuss with these people in a view for them to understand that there is more to peace than in fighting.
The ravaging banditry and insurgency for close to a decade in the state had claimed scores of lives of farmers, travelers, and security operatives in Munya, Rafi, Paikoro, Shiroro, Mashegu, Mariga, Rijo, Kontagora, and Ushishi local government areas. Thousands of others had been abducted and millions of naira paid as ransom to bandits in the last 8 years, while many abductees are still in captivity. Many of these villagers are also still living as internally displaced persons with little or no humanitarian support, and many others are suffering from mental health challenges due to trauma. Dozens of children are also out of school. This, among other challenges faced by the victims, prompted the governor's plan to dialogue with bandits.
I understand with the governor thinking that now he can go and negotiate with the bandits. But I want him to also reflect on the results of the negotiation the Zamfara state government had with bandits, the negotiation the Katsina state had with bandits, and the result of the negotiations some other states had with bandits. By and large, you can see that we all know what happened. Instead of the banditry and the kidnapping abating, this act of criminality, in fact, skyrocketed because the bandits just used the money the state government thought they could use to placate them. Instead, they use these monies to actually purchase more arms and engage in more acts of banditry and kidnapping. So that method of negotiation could be counterproductive, and I will not recommend it.
Dialoguing with bandits, there are certain implications of what those statements will mean. And the first is, what message are we sending first to the world and secondly to the bandits? Now, before I continue, let me say that in Aduno, for instance, where over 66 persons were kidnapped. As a matter of fact, over 150 were kidnapped, but many escaped through the night and came back. At the end of the day, 66 arrived at the bandits' camp, and they spent months. The last group was just released 2 weeks ago, since the 14th of March 2023. And one of such incidences was the fact that there was a woman who was having a little baby, and the baby was just 1.5 years. When the bandits came, they carried the woman and this baby, and when they got into the bush, they eventually saw that the baby was going to become some form of problem to them, especially to the mother. So they collected the baby and threw the baby in the bush and went with the mother. Before the mother could be released and before she would return, the child was already dead. He died of kwashiorkor. So how will such a woman receive this message of dialogue with the bandits.
Residents want attention paid to the victims, while security operatives are well equipped with modern technologies to enable them confront the attackers effectively. Abubakar Akote, Trust TV News, Minna.
The remains of Flight Lieutenant Ibrahim Adamu Abubakar, pilot of the NAF Mi-171 helicopter that crashed in Niger State penultimate Monday, has been laid to rest after a funeral prayer in Zaria. The prayer at Haruna Denja Jumaat Mosque in Zaria, led by the chief imam of the mosque, Sheikh Muhammad Sani Gumi, which was well attended by family members and hundreds of mourners from all walks of life. Also, a team of the Nigerian Air Force personnel who escorted the corpse also joined the prayers, including women relation of the deceased. Flight Lieutenant Ibrahim Adamu Abubakar died during a casualty evacuation mission when the helicopter crashed near Chukuba village in Niger State. Abubakar Adamu, an elder brother of the deceased, explained that the family had earlier performed a funeral prayer in absentia for the deceased when they could not receive the corpse of the late pilot. He said they concluded that they might not see the corpse of late Ibrahim. Therefore, the family decided to conduct a funeral prayer for the deceased in absentia, which was observed last Thursday as ordained by Islam. Adamu, however, stated that since the corpse had been discovered and released to the family, it became mandatory to perform another funeral prayer for the deceased.
Allahu Akbar.
You're watching News Update on Trust TV. Coming up, what to do with subsidy palliatives in states. This and more after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Update on Trust TV. Here is a recap of our top stories. We brought you ECOWAS delegation briefs President Tinubu on Niger crisis as AU announces suspension. And protests in Shandam community of Plateau State as police arrive with a bulldozer for planned demolition of houses. Now moving on to more stories, residents of Yenagoa, the Bayelsa state capital, have expressed mixed feelings over the 5 billion naira given to the state to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy removal, saying the money should be used for that purpose and not divert the money for personal use. Others said the money should be put into projects that will benefit everyone instead of sharing peanuts to the people. A human rights activist, David West, said the state government should utilize the money for the purpose it was given for. However, a renowned environmental activist, Maurice Alagua, said the 5 billion naira should be invested in projects that people will benefit from, like marine transport system and the power sector in the state.
If the government receives the 5 billion, the purpose for which the 5 billion naira was voted for should be what expressly or explicitly it should be used for. Let us not hear that it was used to give to so people, or it was used for one project to complete. No, we don't want to hear that. This is subsidy removal palliative grants given to the state. And not also forget, the state is going to pay about 32% or something thereabout of this same money.
Yesterday, I heard that the Bayelsa state government has, as a result of this 5 billion naira, increased or augmented the salary or allowances of civil servants, maybe the local government and state civil servants. That is not bad, but you know that Bayelsa state is not made up of only civil servants. What is the percentage of civil servants compared to the entire population of Bayelsa state?
The duo, however, said there is no information on whether the state has received the money or not. Meanwhile, residents of Osun State have faulted the federal government for sending bags of rice to states to cushion the effects of economic hardship caused by the fuel subsidy removal. They appealed to the federal government to use the money recovered from the fuel subsidy removal to build refineries rather than sharing rice among Nigerians. Hamid Oyegbade files the report.
The current economic hardship in Nigeria has subjected many people in the country to hunger and suffering. In a bid to cushion the effect of the economic hardship, the federal government sent bags of rice to state governments for distribution to the poor. But for Remi Adekunle and Fele Asho, sharing rice cannot be the solution to the hardship and suffering in the country.
So they should help us to build the refineries. They should not share the food for us. We don't need their food. What we need from them is to use the money to build the refineries for us so that the price of the petrol will go down. Everybody will benefit from that one.
You guys cannot serve as adequate palliative for Nigerians. Nigerians are so hungry more than all this rice distribution. How many bags of rice are given to the states? How many bags will the state distribute to each family?
Keeping that rice is just a mere wasting of time. We saw what happened during the NSAS. Some palliative were given to state government. They kept it. A lot of them got spoiled.
The total number of rice allocated to Osun State happened to be 3,050 kg rice. And out of which we have received 2,400 so far.
The residents advised both the federal and state government to devise strategies to stabilize the economy for the betterment of all Nigerians. Hamid Oyegbade, Trust TV News, Osogbo.
In business, a combination of foreign exchange forwards, security lending, currency swaps, and outstanding contracts has weakened Nigeria's net external reserves to an all-time low of $3.7 billion as at the end of last year. JP Morgan, the American multinational financial services firm, noted in a report that Nigeria's net FX reserves are significantly lower than previously estimated. The Nigeria Central Bank report had earlier revealed that the external reserves stood at $33.88 billion as of August 10th, down from $37.08 billion at the end of last year, in direct contrast to JP Morgan report. The report noted that the Nigeria's low net forex reserve mean continued FX market pressures, adding that the CBN still has the ability to source FX at commercial and semi-commercial rates. On the international scene, Ethiopia will launch a joint investigation with Riyadh into a Human Rights Watch report that accused Saudi border guards of killing hundreds of Ethiopian migrants trying to enter the Gulf Kingdom. The country's foreign ministry said on Tuesday that the government of Ethiopia will promptly investigate the incident in tandem with the Saudi authorities a day after the publication of the HRW report sparked global outrage. The allegations, described as unfounded by a Saudi government source, point to surge in abuses along the perilous route from the Horn of Africa to Saudi Arabia, where hundreds of thousands of Ethiopians live and work. A 20-year-old woman from Ethiopia's Oromia region, interviewed by HRW, said Saudi border guards opened fire on a group of migrants they had just released from custody. Washington, a longtime ally of Riyadh, urged a thorough and transparent investigation into the allegations, which were dismissed by a Saudi government source who spoke to AFP. United Nations spokesman Stephen Dujarric called the report very concerning, but noted the serious allegations were difficult to verify. The New York-based Right Group has documented abuses against Ethiopian migrants in Saudi Arabia and Yemen for nearly a decade. And finally, in sports, Napoli were absolutely outstanding last season under the tutelage of Luciano Spalletti, winning 28 matches and losing just 4 games in the run-up to their Scudetto win last season. Now, they were also impressive in the Champions League, reaching the quarterfinals of the competition for the first time in their history. Osimhen had a big hand in their successes, scoring 31 goals in all competitions to give them the extra push. However, this summer, the Partenopians have lost some of their best hands, with coach Spalletti leaving for sabbatical immediately after the season. Spalletti later accepted the coaching job in the Italian national team, which prompted AC Milan to appoint Rudi Garcia as their new coach. Though defensive stalwart Kim Min-jae has joined German Kings Bayern Munich, the club have managed to hold on to important players like Cevica, Kvaratskhelia, Osimhen and Zambo Anguissa. Nonetheless, former AC Milan striker Cassano says Napoli will struggle to reach the high heights that they did last season. And with that, we wrap up News Update on Trust TV. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms, and you can join our live YouTube for more programs, documentary and news. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thanks for watching.